Hello, everyone, and welcome to Friends of the Force, a Star Wars podcast. I'm your host, Brad.
And I'm your host, Sarah.
And on today's episode, we are bringing you our in-person roundtable with actor Alan Tudyk, who is the voice and the body and the soul of K-2SO, our favorite KX series droid. Sarah, if you had told us 10 years ago when we saw Rogue One that we'd be talking to Alan Tudyk at the Lucasfilm office in San Francisco, I would have never believed you.
Yeah, I wouldn't have believed a word of that sentence because I had just gotten back into fandom at that time. And I've been like, I'm just a girl. And I'm still just a girl, but I'm a girl with a podcast. And I'm a decade older than that girl, you know? So we've leveled up as a girl, not you, but me.
Well, I'm just a guy who is crying over K-2SO going, climb, goodbye.
That's right.
Which Alan does mention in our interview, and I never made the connection that his first words are hello and his last words are goodbye. So listener, wait for that moment and you can cry along with us. But as a reminder, this is the second of 3 roundtable interviews that we did at Lucasfilm, the first of which came out yesterday with creator Tony Gilroy. And these were done alongside our friends Charlotte and Caitlin at Skytalkers podcast, as well as Brandon from Talking Bay 94. And Alan was a really special one because, you know, K2 means a lot to us, especially if you have read the Rogue One novelization as we have. And, he is someone near and dear to our heart. So we were so happy to see K2 return to the series. It's been fun to see Alan on the press tour, see him at Celebration. He brings a lot of like humor, and you can see kind of his and Diego's energy on the stage, just like 2 old buddies getting back together. And I always appreciated that. But it was really fun to reflect on the character and to talk about Alan coming back to the role. So it was just a really, really special day.
Yeah. And we got to hear some stories I don't think we've ever heard before. And he was so funny and personable. And it was an absolute delight to have the opportunity to interview him.
I will also add one note. We did get a tour of ILM earlier in the day. And we were on the mocap stage watching somebody in the full dotted jumpsuit doing live mocap of K-2SO on a Scarif beach on the screen, and we're kind of all paying attention just to set the scene. We're all paying attention. We hear some footsteps behind us, and we turn, and it's Alan Tudyk walking into the mocap stage at ILM. He's like, "Oh, that looks familiar."
And the gasp, I gasped. I think I was just like, we kind of as a group of podcasters were like, somebody might show up there. Like, what if Alan shows up there? And we're like, well, don't be too surprised if it happens. And then I was so surprised. I was so shocked. But it was really cool to have the opportunity to hear him, not only just do our interview, but hear him talk about K2 and see his name was Nick at ILM, who was in the suit. Kind of have a different version of his suit and talk about the difference in their experience was really cool. But without further ado, let's jump into our interview with Alan Tudyk.
If I've offended you, I apologize. If not, I'd appreciate you pointing that elsewhere.
All right.
Just to start, so 10 years ago, you filmed Rogue One.
Yeah.
Who would have thought we'd all be here 10 years later talking about K-2SO? So walk me through your first day back on set of Andor, getting to inhabit this role that you never maybe thought you would be able to inhabit again.
It was pretty great, you know. I got there, my trailer had a cool sign on it. You know, they always they don't put your character name on the sign, or your name on your door. They give you a code name, usually, and they put Old Pal. And so I saw that when I got there. It was really sweet. And I got my stilts, which came out. They were like a time capsule. They had all the stickers on them that I had put, and it was like all scraped up. And there was just a lot of nostalgia. And then I saw Diego, and it was just, fantastic. It was just great to see him. And yeah, I like. They do it really. They've got a coffee bar, and they do it right. They really do it right. So you can always have a cuppa. Do you want some coffee? And they do proper coffees. So I went and got a flat white, which is sort of the most popular thing there, and got to work. It was great.
Was there a change in your work process from Rogue One to Andor, both acting-wise, but also maybe technically-wise?
I don't think so. I mean, I did have to there was a little bit of a, like, relearning when I got there. I remember this director, I'm not remembering his name. It was in the first scene I believe I shot was with at Yavin in that house. Yeah, and what is it?
The frat.
It's called the frat house?
Informally.
Informally. Okay, yeah. The frat house. So I was in the frat house, and the director was like, Alan, can you, because I kind of came in and stood around. He was like, can you do some more movements? Give me something. And I was like, okay. And I came back in and I went like that. I'm like, oh, what am I doing? I'm sorry. This is not my different droid. Not me. I don't do this. Please don't use that. He doesn't move so much. He doesn't, he's more subtle. And I think that works better. So there was a little bit of a relearning process. I had to build up some calluses for the stilts that they take a different muscle that I don't usually use. But yeah, that was about it. I was ready to go.
What do you think it is about the Cassian and K-2 dynamic that fans love so much?
There's a lot of love there, and I don't know if it's a funny relationship. He's a little bit pokey with Cassian. Do you know why this is a bad idea? Type of thing. This is terrible. This idea. No, be quiet. I don't want to hear it. Well, okay, and then I won't tell you that we're about to die. It's that kind of thing, and maybe they're like friends. They're or family, like family, brothers. Ugh. Maybe.
Your introduction into the series is, of course, the meeting of Cassian and K-2.
Mm-hmm.
This was, informally said by Tony Gilroy to be a meet cute.
Oh my God, that says so much about Tony Gilroy. That's a meet cute.
Yeah, I mean, that's the question. Do you feel that this meets the definition of meet cute? And what was it like also getting to play that moment where they meet?
It was, it was great. This is not my definition of a meet cute. It was, they strapped me to that thing, and I got to do that. It was interesting because I had a whole backstory that I had, written in my head of how it had gone, and this was not in it. And I like that somebody pointed out that his first word is hello, and his last word is goodbye. That is pretty good. I don't know if they thought about that, but it's pretty sweet. Since it ends right there, and it jumps time, I was able to maintain my continuity of what I imagined there coming up, his programming and just sort of the learning process and their bonding, that stayed the same. And that, that's where they find their back and forth. And maybe, I know that K-2 definitely cares about Cassian. And I think Cassian, that's where he begins to care about K-2 because he does care for him a lot.
Even while you talk, it's so fun to see you doing the shrugs and the points. And it's because it's so based within just like miming. And like, it's just so intricate and so simple at the same time. I'd be curious if there are inspirations that you looked at like as physical comedy or physical acting that you kind of took from, because it's such a well-defined.
Right. Oh, thank you. No, I mean, there's just some theater training that I had that, physical movement, you can do all these movement classes and they're always teaching, the different ways to carry yourself and how it can project a different story. And I was always very aware of my body movement when I was in the K-2 costume in my little spandex, that those movements, a little subtle movement can say a lot. And that was a good way to storytell. If there's something emotional, do it physically. Have it even, subtly, just physically, just even your attention, where you're placing your attention and things like that.
I was really curious. K-2SO has kind of his own Vader hallway scene. And I was really curious about the process of creating that sequence. Like, how much of it were you on set actually doing in that scary scene?
Right. I was not involved in it. It was tricky. I love the scene. It's so gory. And when we made the show, so the writers went on strike right before I started. So we weren't on strike, but the writers were on strike. So Tony was not on set and could not be reached. And so everything was cemented. And when I saw that scene, and they sort of took me through it, I was like, yeah, okay. What if we do this? Like, I like it. It's great. But what if we do this? And I had some changes to it. Because I shoot somebody, I don't know if we need to go through all this, but I don't know, is this okay to say? I don't know. What I was suggested, it's very simple. You shoot somebody, I come in, and then this guy starts shooting me, and I think I take him and hit him with him, or something like that. Or somehow I don't use the gun ever again. And I said, it seems odd to me if I have a gun that I just let a guy shoot me instead of just shoot him. So what if when he shoots me, he shoots my gun out of my hand? And then that is the impetus for me to then kill everyone with just my hands, because I take him down the hallway and I'm using him a thing, and then I kicked another guy, which I don't know that it really sells that I had to kick this guy. You don't really see how it worked. But I said, wouldn't that makes sense? And it doesn't change anything. It just changes that I would then just keep coming. And they're like, okay, great. Yeah, all right. They're like, okay, let's take 5. And I went back to my trailer. I got a knock on the door, and Mark, who does the fight choreography, came in with a computer. He's like, hey, Alan, how's it going? We haven't really had a chance to meet. How's it going? Where's Mark? Great. I wanted to show you the previs that we worked at. It's fantastic. You're going to love it. And I watched this previs, and it was incredible. Like, they had actors doing, like, first of all, they built the hallway with a bunch of cardboard boxes, and they had stuntmen doing it, but they were in costume. They're doing the whole thing, and they went through the whole, like, they cut it, they edited it. It was all ready to, like, that's it. And they say, see how it works? Is you like? And I was like, uh-huh. He goes, Tony loves this. I said, are you asking me to not do the gun thing because this is what Tony wants and we can't reach Tony? I'm just wondering did you like it? Yeah, it's great. And so that's what it was. That was the process, you know?
Makes sense. Yeah, those KX droids are so lethal in season 2. And I know Tony had said originally they were thinking of doing like a horror story type of episode with K2,
right,
be akin to Alien or Predator. But how do you, like, with such violent moments with these droids, like, still instill that humor? Because I love he goes to that whole hallway and he's like, I've cleared a path. Like,
yeah.
Oh my gosh, you just murdered so many people.
Yeah. Yeah. It's it's in the writing. It's tricky. I mean, I could have gone even farther. I think we should leave now. You could say anything there. It's a great setup. I love those. The drama and violence in those really heightened moments is a perfect time to throw something in there. Why are you sitting on the floor? Let's go. It supports it. The world supports it.
It's also not every character could do something there K2 can, though. And I think that's part of your performance and the character. I'd be curious, you've been in so many science fiction properties and in iconic ways, but K2 really kind of remains this like stalwart force that fans have really gravitated towards. Why do you think that is?
I think, you know, he's sweet. He's a sweet droid, and he's funny. You know, he's like a child. He's a child, you know. Why does she get a blaster and I don't? And it's not fair. You know, I always saw Cassian as his father, who kind of helped, you know, after that first initial, you see him, that he helped him learn, and they came to, you know, he's the one who freed him from being, from the Imperial programming, and he was able to then express himself in a new way, the way he was meant to be. I like to think that the K-2SO that he is now is the true, you know, K-2SO. And I think people, it's just fun to have that voice in a room, you know. The sort of, I don't think this is a good idea. You know, just that, God, oh, you're the worst, stop talking. And he's loyal. And he gave his life. You know it, even though you're watching it back, he gives his life for them. Ah, so cool.
Was there, fans love that slap that somehow made it in to Rogue One. Was there anything unscripted that happened in Andor?
A lot. Oh, in Andor.
Oh, also in
you know, the one thing, and I didn't really realize it until we were talking, is that, and it was the last thing I filmed on Andor, was me walking across that bridge, and and I hit that guy. And he was all on, you know, cables and stuff, and he could go far. They had this whole thing and had it all set up. And my line was, he's like, "Are you with us or against us?" or whatever he's saying, you know. K2, respond, you know, KX unit, respond. Are you with us? And are you with us, I think. And I responded by saying, "I'm K-2SO. I'm a KX unit, da-da-da-da-da, something." And I hated it. Sorry, I hated it. I hate it. And yeah, and there was something that I had asked a question about. Maybe it was the line. It wasn't, I knew I couldn't change the line, but yeah, it was the line. It was the line. And I was like, I just, you know, I just don't know. This doesn't feel like him. And it's okay. And I was down. And Mark came over. He's like, "Do you want to see the previs?" I was like, "I do not want to see the previs. Don't want to see it." Thank you, Mark. Who's really good, by the way. I don't want to put down Mark. Mark's really great at his job. And the director saw me and asked me, he's like, "What's going on, man?" I was like, "Nothing. I just feel like I can't do certain things. I can't say, I'm, you know." He goes, "Well, what would you say if you could say anything?" I said, "No." That's what I'd say. "Are you with us?" "No, I'm not." He's like, "Then do one like that." And that was the last one I did. And that's the one that's in there. I'm so happy it's there. Yeah.
Coming from Rogue One and jumping back into this character 10 years later, you know, the medium has changed. You're in TV versus film now.
Right.
And you're jumping into the second season with already an established story and cast and crew. Is there any differences for you other than maybe the amount of improvisation you could do that you felt on set and working with both the cast and crew that you knew, as well as new faces?
Right. I mean, it was different in the, just because of what it is. It is, like you said, it's TV, but it's that, you know, 12 hours, 24 hours of telling this story. And it affected Cassian. And anything that affects Cassian affects me. And we were really loose on Rogue One because of reasons of script changes, and things got a little nutty there in the middle. And we all just kind of were loose and improv a little bit here and there. And, you know, the slap that you mentioned before happened because Cassian showed up on set with a busted lip. And Gareth goes, "Oh no, it's not in it anymore." That's sorry. That was an old draft. You shouldn't have had that put on. What? It's like, but he hits me in that interrogation. That interrogation's gone. It's like, I spent all morning doing this thing. I was like, can I keep it? He's like, you have to go take it off. He's like, well, I'm here now. Can I keep it? And he's like, somebody just has to hit me. And I said, I'll hit you. And then we quickly worked that out. And then I was hitting him, and then I just got to say whatever I wanted to say because it wasn't scripted. So it ended up being different every time, and one of them was. And there's a fresh one if you mouth off again. And that's why I was laughing, because it was the most ridiculous one of the ones that I had done. The others were a little bit more canon, what you would think would be in a Star Wars film. But Gareth was like, absolutely 100%. I want that one. Like, fantastic. So it was different, but you know, I can't tell you how much I love Andor and how much I love being a part of Andor. Like, it is, I laugh in places nobody's laughing at, just because I love all the minutia, all the granular storytelling. When Mon Mothma, they find that listening device, and she slams that thing down, and it's so cool, and she breaks it, and she marches out, and they go to that room, and there's people like, oh, something, huh, what's it's red instead of green, it was green, and now it's red. And then other things are happening, and you know, is it going to be, who's going to take her away, and what, you know, should we have told him about that he's now on their side, and they come back, and she's there with the supervisor. Yeah, see, so was it on our end? I don't know. We said it was on, they checked it. It's not on our end, it's on her end. Oh. And then they have the middle manager guy come in, and he's like, oh, I can't leave. And I love that it, in so many other stories, you follow like, crush the thing. And then she would march out and go give a speech. That's where the speech would come. But the speech was like, I need to give a speech. And they go, well, wait a minute. If you're going to give a speech, they're going to arrest you. And we don't want you to be arrested. So now we got to figure out how to get you out of here. Like, it's all of those things that you never get to see told in storytelling, because you don't have enough time to tell it in, or it just takes a lot of money. And they spent it telling this story, and that's really cool that they did.
Money well spent. Yes.
I agree, and I'm glad so many people like it. But like, I don't know when this will ever be done again. You know, it's so, and that Tony. I mean, also, it's not easy to write like that because all those little things that those people are doing are part of the bigger story of sending the person there, and then they've locked the door, and all of. I mean, it's just all part of it. It's all connected, and oh, it's great.
It's so granular.
Yeah, it really is. And you have to have a big OCD mind to pull that off. And bless them.
You mentioned laughing at moments in the show, and despite how serious it can be, there is levity to it. Mm-hmm. Go back to the frat house that Brandon mentioned earlier from Tony, and the Melshi and K2 and Cassian scene is just it's so funny. Mm-hmm. They're just hounding on him constantly, but getting that slice of life with them before we know what's going to happen to them in the coming days on Scarif. Like, why do you think it's important we get that and to have that moment of joy? I
think it's important, especially because we didn't get to see all of those moments that brought them together, that they have a rapport, that they have this fun rapport that they're playing around. And it's a little levity before all the marauding and the killing and the death. Yeah.
It just makes it that much more tragic that we see this wonderful slice of life from them, knowing what's coming in hours, days, really.
Yes. Oh my gosh. It's so great. I met Mark Hamill one time so far, and I was at a con one time, and it was before Rogue One came out. I was at a con with him. It wasn't a Star Wars con, but I had to cross behind his signing thing to get to my place. And I crossed behind me, turned. I think I said, "Hi, Mark. My name's Alan Tudyk. I play a droid in the new Rogue One." And he looks up at me, and he grabs me and pulls me around and turns our backs to his line, and goes, "They'd all die? They all die? I mean, I can't believe it. how are you keeping that secret? It's just insane. My God, I can't believe it. When I read it, I couldn't believe it. This is so cool.
And we're still crying about it. Yeah, it's like, yeah, you know, we saw the movie recently, kind of Andor's episode 12 into Rogue One. It really hits.
Yeah, good.
It's still just as effective as it, you know, was when we originally saw it.
I think it's sadder now, actually. Yeah. You understand it on a deeper level, and so it actually makes it hurt more. I don't know, like in a good way.
Being Cassian water the plants, that was a step too far.
That's the ending, though. I want to go all the way to the beginning. So Anthony Daniels has a story where he saw the C-3PO painting for the first time, looked it in its eyes, connected. What was your process at the very, very beginning of all this? How did they tell you about K2 and how do they describe it or show?
I love that he has this majestic religious moment with the drawing. Mine was different. I wasn't on board anymore. It was early in the process, and Gareth and I had just had conversations about it. And Gareth had been talking about this animation and the way that my face and how they would capture my face. And I had done a motion capture robot before, and I found it to be difficult. Not the making of it, but I had seen iRobot with my face, and then I saw it with the face that everybody has seen. And it frustrated me in places, and it's not to take anything away from Digital Domain and all the work that they did on that movie, but with humans, we're able to tell stories in ways that we don't even know we're telling them because we're biological beings. Like a flushed face says something to us, or there are certain muscles in your face you can't even access without having the emotion that touches them. And you can hold many things at once, hope and fear, simultaneously in a human face, that when you do it in a animated face, it was sometimes it was rough. So in the beginning, I was like, I don't know, man, I don't know. And then he was like, no, don't worry, we're gonna get every little thing. And then they showed me his face, and I said, I don't want to do this. Look, you're already lying to me, obviously. He's like, well, we realize we can't make him do what I was thinking because it's C-3PO's fixed eyes, and he wouldn't be any better technology than that. And it made sense. And I was like, okay, I don't know. And he said, well, come watch something that somebody made at ILM to show you. And I went into this room, and it was on a Zoom with somebody here. And they showed me, I had done this thing called Conman that was about conventions. And there's a scene where I'm on the toilet, my character, and it looks like me in Conman. And I'm two sci-fi fans are on either side of me. It was something that happened to me at urinals one time. Hey, aren't you that guy in Firefly? And I was like, yeah, we can't talk. And this other guy's like, I'm sorry, what's that? I'm like, no, don't. I haven't seen Firefly. Oh, I've heard of that. I'm like, guys, we have got to stop. I will meet you all by the mirror. We can just, by the sinks. And so it was a scene that was about that, basically, but we were in stalls. And they animated that with K-2SO. And he's like, hey, no, you can't talk about this. You can't do it. So all of the emotion was there. It was all there. It was vocal and it was motion. And so that was my moment. Anthony Daniels has a religious moment with a portrait. I saw myself animated on a toilet.
It's also a religious.
That is, it was a movement. It was a religious movement, but.
Well, we went back to the beginning, but now to come to the end, it's been almost 10 years since Rogue One came out. So as you reflect on the past decade, what does it mean to be a part of the Star Wars legacy?
It means so much. It means more. It's just, especially with Andor, because it's such quality art. It's art. And I think that it will help for someone who likes sci-fi and watches a lot of sci-fi and does a lot of sci-fi. It'll help bring some people around, some of those snobby people around, that sci-fi, because there's still there's still people who'd like to look down on it, as this other thing. But this with Andor, I just think this is monumental, this piece of work. And to be a part of that is fantastic. And that we got to have Rogue One as well, because I had a blast. We went all over the world. We were in Maldives, a bunch of stuff we shot because the scripts were still doing weird things. We didn't use it. But we lived on these boats for a little while. It was only a couple weeks. Lived on these boats. And one night, a whale shark came around, was attracted to the light. And I just went swimming with a whale shark all night long, like just snorkeling with a whale shark. Like, what? That was work? And, oh, my God. So there have been a lot of positives, and Andor is just, it's more than just a cherry on top, but it's huge, Hey
everyone, thank you for listening to this interview with Alan Tudyk. Again, thank you to Lucasfilm. Shout out to Skytalkers and Talking Bay. And as we mentioned on the last episode, go check out our friends over at Star Wars Explained, Blast Points, Triad of the Force, and Children of the Watch for their interview with Alan. I'm sure it was great, and I can't wait to listen to it. And for more from us in the coming days, make sure to be following us on our socials and subscribe to our podcast feed so you get our next roundtable tomorrow, as well as a fun bonus episode on our trip to Lucasfilm.
And thanks again to all of our patrons who truly help keep the lights on, who help keep the show running. We're super, super grateful for all of your support. And to all of our listeners, anybody who's taken the time out of their day to listen to this roundtable, I appreciate you. Thank you for being a friend of the Force. And I hope that you have had 3 meals today: breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Ooh, in that order. Although you can have breakfast for dinner if you would so like.
I support that as well.
Yes, who amongst us haven't had pancakes at 8 p.m.? It's a joy.
Well, me, because I don't like pancakes, but we can have a different conversation about that offline. Yeah.
Okay. I agree with her sentiment. Stay hydrated, stay healthy, eat some food, have a snack, treat yourself. Thank you all for listening, and until next time, may the Force be with you, always.
Bye.